Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now, we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more.
Growing up, though, I could never control my emotions. So when I was a kid, I used to play footy and I'd get that angry and hyped up, I'd cry.
Yes.
Full crying because I didn't know how to control it. Like I didn't know what to do. So there's 4 spots in your body where you don't want stress fractures, and I've got one there. And one's in your shin, and the other ones are in your feet.
Yep.
So I've got one in my left shin at the moment, and that was the sort of hardest thing for me to take. So I had to go see surgeons sort of halfway through last year.
The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachlan Stuart. Let's get into it. So welcome back to another episode of the Man That Can Project podcast. For those tuning in today, we've got Tyson Gamble joining us on the show. I'm pumped to have Tyson on the show. I saw you were in a photo with a mutual friend of ours and one of our academy members. Watto, you guys were tanning at the time. I was like, mate, can you see if Tyson's keen to come on the podcast? And here we are. So I appreciate your time, mate.
No, all good, mate. I'm happy to be here. Excited for the chat.
It's good. So you're obviously in pre-season. You've moved down to Newcastle at the moment. How's the move treated you so far?
Yeah, the move wasn't too bad. It's been a bit difficult in getting used to the lifestyle down here, I guess. Brisbane's it's hustle bustle in Brisbane. We're down here, mate. It's like cool, calm, collected. Nobody's in a rush. Mate, most of the people don't even wear shoes down here, so it's perfect. My type of place.
Yeah, I was like, that's where I need to be. I come from Toowoomba, so it's
mate,
similar vibe.
Absolutely. It's a great spot down here, mate. I've got nothing bad to say about it.
Yeah, perfect. I hit Watto up before. I was like, what's a story or something you can give me about Tyson? And he threw his like straight away. Within 30 seconds, he was like, mate, ask him about the time he let me let him be his barber. And I was like, well, fuck, I wouldn't trust him with the scissors, but obviously you did. What happened there?
Well, it wasn't even scissors, mate. So I was just sick of having long hair. So I was like, just shave it. Like we'll just go 3 all over. And we did it. And then I went for a shower and didn't realize he shaved the bald spot. Like he took the size off it and just went straight bald into my head, like 4 centimeters. Just had a bald spot. I had a job interview the next week. Just shaved the bald spot in my head. So then I had to go to another barber and like legit, I had no hair on my head. It was embarrassing trying to go for a job interview straight after school with a bald spot, mate. He got me. I haven't got him back yet either.
Yeah, did he do that deliberately or what? Yeah.
No, it was an accident. Like he did it perfect the first time, and I think he went to fix a bit up and didn't realize he didn't put the I'm not
blade
sure
back on.
Put it back on and just went bald spot straight in. And I was just like, no way. No way. It was pretty funny, but after the fact, and I realized what like I had to deal with a bald spot on my head. I was wearing a hat everywhere, mate. Oh, I'm not good looking at the best of times, let alone having a bald spot on my head.
People would have been like, what the fuck is going on with this dude?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mate. I got definitely got some weird looks going around, especially in the shopping centres.
So you're playing in the NRL. Was that like coming out of school and stuff? Was that always a goal of yours, or did you just stumble in there?
Oh, my whole family's been rugby league since I was a kid. Yep. I started playing when I was 7, and it's always been a dream of mine. Obviously, growing up, you're a kid, you dream big, and that was my dream to play in the NRL. So I'd always sort of hoped it happened for me.
Yep.
But through my teenage years, from about 13 to 17, mate, I was scared to tackle. I was a bit like I was just obviously going through puberty and all that at the time. I was just scared. Like, I didn't really think it was for me. And then once I sort of hit grade 12, it all started falling in place for me a little bit. I started obviously maturing a bit in my body. leaving school, I went to work, and then, it just sort of kicked off from there.
Yep.
From about 18 onwards was when footy really started taking off for me.
Yep. How'd the opportunity, like, do you still remember when you got the first call for your contract or your call up into the NRL?
I do. So I was 21 playing Queensland Cup for Redcliffe, which at that age and in the position I played in the halves was a pretty big deal, which I didn't really think it was because I was just like, it's just footy, you just go up and grade, like it is what it is. And then within 5 games of playing in my first full Queensland Cup year, I'd signed to the Tigers. So that all happened for me really quickly. Like I had 5 cup games to my name, and then I was signed to an NRL team within 5 weeks, sort of thing. So it had all come about pretty quick. And then the following year went down to first time moving out of home, living in Sydney. It was a bit of an eye opener. But it all happened really quick. The start of my career, a lot quicker than I probably expected.
Yep, that's unreal. Were you ever, like, obviously coming straight out of school, did you play schoolboys and all that sort of stuff as well?
No, I didn't. So I didn't really take footy seriously in school. Like Watto and I, we went to Pine Rivers, which is not really a school known for rugby league.
Yep.
So I never really played it. I didn't think it was going to be something that I could pursue post school.
Yep.
So we just played like touch footy, Oz tag, all that sort of stuff. And I just played footy on the weekends just at my local club team. So I was never really played any like schoolboy stuff, never really tried out for any teams.
Yep.
Or anything at all. So it's, as I said, it was all just sort of off the back of playing club footy on the weekends.
And when did you decide that you wanted to make a career out of it?
Well, as I said before, once I sort of hit 18, I sort of realized I was half decent. I wasn't too bad because I was 18 and got picked up to play in the 20s comp in Brisbane. Yep. I was playing for Redcliffe there, and that sort of come at the back end of the year when I sort of wasn't taking the under 18s comp all that seriously. Like I just turned 18. I sort of just got used to drinking and being able to go out. So I was sort of drinking on the Friday
your prime,
night.
Mate.
Yeah, I was in my prime. So I was drinking on a Friday night and then having to play on a Saturday or a Sunday. So I wasn't really taking it seriously. And then towards the end of that year, I was playing good footy and they had an injury in the 20s team. And they come down to watch me play one game and, offered me a contract from there for my first senior deal. So, when I was about 18, it sort of happened for me then. And then I was in pre-seasons the following year. That's when it sort of clicked for me that I'm actually a chance of making something of this if I really put my head down and go for it. It never really happened for me overnight. Like it took a long time for me to get to where I am.
Yep. What do you reckon you would have been doing if it didn't sort of fall into place like that?
Well, I was 2.5 years through my electrical apprenticeship.
Yep.
So I probably would have just finished that and obviously just been a sparky because I actually enjoyed that. One of my mates got me an apprenticeship with the place he was working with. So, that sort of fell into my place and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the work. It was sort of something that I'd wanted to do when I was at school anyway.
Yeah.
So I would probably just finish that. I probably just would have been a sparky and just playing local footy, I guess.
Yep. How was it changed for you? Like one day you're playing Q within the space of that 5 weeks and then into the NRL. Did your life sort of take a big 360 from that? Because I could imagine you're in the spotlight now. There would have been some expectations and pressures that came with that. Did you experience that?
Absolutely. So that I finished that year obviously in Queensland with the Queensland Cup and we didn't do too bad. So it was a following year when I went into pre-season. I sort of at the start when you first sign, you're not really known by much of the fans, the media and that. So it's sort of just personal pressures. And obviously I wanted to, being a young kid, you want to take everything head on.
Yeah.
Not really. It's sort of act first and then think about it later. Well, that's the way I was anyway. So I put a lot of sort of personal pressures on myself and what I wanted to achieve in my first year and what I wanted to get to. And I actually got that. So my first year of being full-time, I got my NRL debut. And it sort of come halfway through the season or closer towards the end, but I still got it. And I had an absolute shocker. Oh, man, we got pumped. I had a drop ball, kicked the ball out in the full. Like I had an absolute shocking game. And then after that, I just wasn't ready. Like my head was gone. Like for the rest of the season, I don't think I played another good game. Like I was just got so caught up in how bad I played and what other people were thinking of me. And what my teammates thought of me and what my coaches thought of me. So yeah, it was a bit of a battle personally. I find that the hardest thing to get past even now.
How have you sort of worked on that? Because a lot of people who watch the game slag players off and stuff, but they don't understand the pressures that you've mentioned that you put yourself under, the club puts you under, and obviously then the fans. How do you manage that? I know you said you still battle with it today, but what are some things you do to sort of get your head right for the next week if you do have a bad game?
Massive one for me is just staying off social media. That's the hardest thing, because obviously you talk to your mates on social media constantly, but that's when I was younger and first started playing and all that. I said if I'd have a bad game, the first thing I'd do is go look at what people are saying about me, what people are commenting, what people are saying, and that's the worst thing you can do. Like, you're only human. If you have a bad game, it is what it is. It doesn't define you as a player or as a human being. Like, it's a bad game. You've always got the next week to, I guess, change that. But main one for me would be just staying off social media, and then next one would just be finding something that I could think about other than footy. So obviously, as I said to you before, I play Xbox with Watto. I play a lot of Xbox and Call of Duty with my mates because it just takes me away from footy. Like, I don't think about it for a couple of hours when I'm playing. I'm chatting shit with my mates, which is what I love doing. So I think that's probably my getaway, is playing Xbox. And I've just started playing golf again. So that's another one. I enjoy having things that I can think about that aren't footy. That's because if you're constantly at training thinking of footy, going home thinking of footy, playing footy on the weekends, it's all you think about, and then you sort of burn yourself out a little bit. 100%. So I just have different avenues of taking my mind away from it, so I don't get so caught up in the bullshit, I guess.
Yeah, it's cool hearing that from you, like the inside scoop around what that experience was like for you when you have a bad game and how personally you take it, because obviously it shows that you give a shit, but it's also cool that you have things to sort of get yourself out of the game, because if you focus on anything enough, you're going to end up resenting it and burning yourself out.
Absolutely.
How do you go at COD? Pretty good at it?
I'm better than Watto, put it that way. I wouldn't say I'm good. No, I wouldn't say either of us are really good. I think it's more there just for the fun, just because we don't see each other that often.
Yeah, the banter.
It's just more to catch up and chat some shit, as I said, and talk to a few of the boys. It is a good bit of fun, though.
Yeah.
But both of us do blow up. We're just too competitive. So when we start to suck, it just start getting angry.
Yeah.
You can tell when we're not happy or having a good day, because you just go quiet and just get angry.
There's no communication.
Yeah, none at all. It's good fun.
My fucking missus hates the PlayStation. When we were touring around Europe at one point, me and my mate were playing FIFA the whole time, and she got the shits with it, so she threw the disc out the tour bus. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? So now I've managed to get one of the Oculus headsets. I'm like, no, I need this for work because I'm building a virtual office, even though I'm playing all kinds of fucking games.
Yeah, smart man. Beat the system, eh? I like it.
Getting around it. It's the way to do it. So one of the things I love about you as a player, mate, because I watch a bit of footy, obviously, is the aggression that you bring to the game. Like, whenever you come on, I remember midway through the season last year when you came on, and the way that you play the game, for me, it's like you're like a halfback in rugby union, the guy that fucking really gets under people's skin and irritates the absolute buggery out of people.
Yeah.
Have you always been that way inclined with how you play the game? I would say aggressive, but I wouldn't say, I mean aggressive in the way that you can really turn a game on its head by that energy and the attitude that you bring to it.
Yeah, I've definitely always sort of had that.
Yep.
Growing up, though, I could never control my emotions. So when I was a kid, I used to play footy, and I'd get that angry and hyped up, I'd cry. I'd be on the field and get full crying because I didn't know how to control it. Like, I didn't know what to do. So I'd get so angry, and then I'd just cry. And I reckon I did that up until I was about, 13 or 14?
Yeah.
I was bad. So now, when I sort of got a bit older, I like to talk a lot of shit. That's sort of my go-to, and that's just where I put it all now. And yeah, I don't mind the confrontations on the field, I guess, because I don't actually go out and plan to be like that. Like, it's something that just sort of like comes naturally to me.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm very competitive. I hate losing in anything, and especially footy. Like, that's what I do for a living. Like, I want to win. So if I can put a bloke off his game for one play for a minute, for 2 minutes, just anything. If I can get a penalty, if whatever, I'll do it, because it's at the end of the day, it's going to help us win. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes it has backfired on me, which is not always ideal. You get a bit of a spray from the coach.
Yeah.
But I'll never take it out of my game, because it's just who I am. Like,
yeah.
Off the field, I'm not like that at all. Like, I'm so placid, but you sort of put me on the field, and it's just that competitive nature, I guess, that you've got playing sport. Like, I hate losing. In anything. I hate losing a tackle. I hate losing games. I don't like it when somebody tackles me hard. Like, it's just little things. I just don't like. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I just don't like losing in anything.
Mate, it's a good way to live. I think like that a lot. Well, it's funny. I started with a new psychologist, and because I'm everything that I do in my life is like, it has to be a competition, or I'm not wasting my time with it, which is she thinks is a bad thing. And I'm like, well, the alternative is I become a slob, and it's like, I've been a slob in my life and I don't want to be a slob again. So I fucking make everything a competition to the point where it's like people don't like it, but I'm like, well, helps me get results in different areas of my life.
That's tough titties for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I reckon.
What's been the funniest reaction or response you've had from someone on the footy field from sledging them?
Reactions from people, but I won't name names. But a player, once I was fresh into the league, so I'd only played about 6 or 7 games, and I was playing for Brisbane a couple of years back, and I got and I hold a grudge, and I do it all the time. And then we played them the following year in Brisbane, and then we were pumped. We won 36-0, and then I finally got my revenge. We scored a try, and I ran past him and just absolutely gave it to him. And good to get that one back. It really did, because I'm bad for holding grudges, and I always will.
That's epic. Fucking hell. What's been some of, you were speaking about earlier, like the pressures that you put on yourself to perform to a certain level. But I guess from the fans, like, staying off social media is one of those things. But do you have any expectations as a team of how you're going to perform week in, week out, etc.?
Yeah, beauty. Yeah, sounds a bit better. There was just that last question. There wasn't the whole thing. It was just that last bit there.
I can't even remember what I said, so we'll carry on.
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, out there. I can't remember either.
I literally live in the middle of the city, and I still have to do hotspot sometimes because of NBN and whatnot's crap. It's a bit frustrating. But anyway, I know you're just like, you think the closer.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? You're right there, where all the towers and stuff you'd think would be, you'd get the best connection there, but obviously not.
Exactly. 100%. What do you feel like as a player at the moment? What's something that you're doing to, I guess, an area of focus in your game to be better?
I think for me, being the position I play in the halves, you've got to be a really good communicator.
Yep.
And I love talking, and I could talk underwater if you really wanted me to. But for me, it's the way I deliver things. So if I'm on a field, I've got to be loud. I've got to be assertive. But at the moment, I'm really frantic in the way I talk, and I'm really rushed. And if I'm speaking like that, it's weird how footy works. If I'm talking like that, the players around me feel frantic. They feel it in my voice, so they're thinking, "Oh, Jesus, like what's going on? He's doing this, he's doing that." Like, and I've just really got to learn within myself to be assertive and really clear with the way I'm talking and what I want. Because the more calm I am, the more calm the players around me are, and the more likely we are to, obviously, if we're attacking, we're going to attack really well because everybody's going to be in the right spots, doing the right thing. Over me sort of screaming at a bloke saying, "Get the fuck here, I need you to do this, like, do that, do this." Like, I've just got to be, and that's something I find really hard because you don't have all that much time in a game of footy to tell people what you want. Like, you've got 1 to 2 seconds. So you've got to be like at the point straight away. And that's something that I struggle with because once I'm in a game and it's heated, my head's going and I can't sort of pull myself back together really quickly. It's something I've struggled with my whole life, but I feel like I'm getting better. And I'm 27. I'm still learning how to do that. Like, it's something that, it's always going to be a work on for me in my game.
Is there any specific things you're doing to improve that, or it's just the experience of playing week in, week out?
I think it's more the experience. of who you play with. Like if you were playing with a really experienced back row, like on an edge, they
Yep.
sort of know what their role is anyway, and
Yep.
they sort of can help you out and like give you a little bit of cues and pointers and sort of say, oh, I'm doing this. So then you don't have to tell them.
Yep.
But it's sort of when you're playing with the younger boys who are still learning, who are still
Yep.
getting to know their games and their roles, that's when I'm a little bit more flustered because I feel
Yep.
they're asking me what they're meant to be doing. And I'm sort of like, well, I've got to worry about my job. I've got to worry about the play of the ball. I can't be telling you what you're doing and then looking at the defense and sort of seeing what I'm going to do. So it sort of changes the different environments you're in. Like the more experienced group you're with, it becomes a bit easier. But personally, it's just I don't really know how to describe it. It's just a work on my game. I don't really think there's anything I can do. It's just individually like realizing what the team needs from me instead of me worrying about myself. I've got to worry about what's best for the team.
It's interesting I've never really thought about it in the context of that from football, because I know for life and in general, like the importance of communicating effectively and clear and concisely, but also having, I guess, a team or a group of mates around you that make life easier and empower you to get better results. And as you've sort of touched on there, when there's people who aren't as experienced or I guess aren't as in tune with the play, it puts more pressure on you, which then takes away from, I guess, your creative flair or running the play that you need to play. Yeah. And so I think it really highlights the importance of having a good team and environment around you to get the results, much like, we need to do in life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always going to be times when you have a young bloke coming in or a bloke that's not so sure. And that's when I've got to learn and notice who I'm with. And like, they obviously need the help to be caught up. Yep. So that's where I've got to also work on, is being able to bring somebody up and get them with me instead of sort of having a go at them for not being where I need them to be, sort of thing.
Yep.
That's just the competitive nature again, because I expect everybody to know their job. And obviously when I was younger, I didn't know what I was doing either. Well, I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know everything.
Yep.
So, and it's just sort of thinking back to when I was young, the boys helped me. They didn't have a go at me or get angry at me. And so that's sort of what I've got to do and what I'm trying to learn to do.
Yep. Yeah, that's perfect. What, like throughout your career and stuff, injury wise and all that sort of stuff, what's been, I guess, a standout bit of adversity that you've overcome, and how have you handled that?
I've only sort of had 2 serious injuries.
Yep.
The first one a couple of years ago, I fractured my wrist and ruptured 2 tendons in my hand.
Yeah, right.
So I got rushed into surgery the day that we found out, and I had to learn to use my thumb again, which was a bit of So I couldn't. My thumb was just stuck. I couldn't move it. Like I couldn't bend it. I couldn't move couldn't do a circle. Couldn't go up and down. It was just stuck. I couldn't move it. I didn't know why. So I had to learn. And to learn, I had to literally just hold my thumb like that and push it down. Like I went to a hand therapist for 12 weeks, once a week. I still can't quite touch my pinky finger.
Yeah.
But I got most of the movement back. So that was pretty hard leading into a preseason, sort of not knowing if I'd be able to use my thumb to catch some pass. That was a bit of a weird one. Like it's not all that big of a deal because they always said I'd be able to move it again, but I don't have sort of full range of motion on it, but it hasn't affected me too much. And at the moment, well, sort of last year, midway through last year, I found out I've got a stress fracture in my shin. And that's been the toughest one to sort of deal with because when we first found out, the club doctor sort of said if I break it, it could be career ending just because of where it is. So there's 4 spots in your body where you don't want stress fractures, and I've got one there. And one's in your shin, and the other ones are in your feet.
Yep.
So I've got one in my left shin at the moment, and that was the sort of hardest thing for me to take. So I had to go see surgeons sort of halfway through last year, and get cleared to play, or have surgery. So the surgeon sort of said, what I'd need to happen now if I got surgery was they'd have to drill a hole through the top of my shin to the bottom, put a rod in there, and then take a bit of bone from my hip and put it where the stress fracture is to try get the bone to heal. because it's too far gone now where it just won't heal itself.
Oh, so it won't heal itself at all?
No, because
Shit.
I've had it for about 18 months and I only found out about it last year. I just thought it was an Achilles problem or like my calves are a bit weak.
Yep.
But turns out, I've got a stress fracture there. So, and if they were to do that, it'd sort of be 6 months recovery.
Yep.
It'd be, I think they said 6 to 8 weeks of no load bearing on my leg, just to try and get that bone to heal. And then there was no guarantee that the bone would heal. So, and then on the flip side of that, I got cleared by 3 surgeons to say I could play. So I ended up going back into training, and it was just the knowing now that I had a fracture there.
Yep.
I was like running, I was limp, like I had a bit of a limp just because I knew it was there. And now that I knew what the pain was, I was really wary of it. Like couldn't run properly. Like it was shocking. Like it was really hard for me to mentally get past that.
Yep.
So and I think it was just more, I had to get through training. I just had to keep training, knowing that I could still run on that leg, knowing that I could be tackled, knowing that I could tackle, knowing that I could step off it and deal with that sort of stuff. So I ended up coming back and playing footy. My first game of footy, I had like a big hockey shin pad, mate. It was about that thick. I had it on my leg and just wrapped it there. And I was just like, if I get hit on this, like, I generally don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know if it's going to break. I just don't know how it's going to work. And I was shitting myself first game back. Like the warm-up, I was warming up. Like you do like your little jumps and stuff like that. My leg was killing me. Like all I could think about was the pain in my shin. And I was just stressing. It was really hard to get through. But first kickoff went and I was running down chasing it. And I could just feel myself like hobbling. Like I was just putting no pressure on it, just stressed out. Ended up getting through the game sweet. Once I started playing footy, I didn't think about it as much.
Yeah.
Because there was blokes running at me, I had to make tackles. I had the ball, I was thinking about passing, what I was going to do. So I didn't think about it as much. But once I got through that first game, it was sort of, it wasn't too bad. But it's just a constant notice now, because anytime I get tackled around the legs, I just think fuck. It could, is it going to break? It's just a constant head sort of fuck for me at the moment, because I've got to do a lot of warm up pre-field.
Yeah,
I've got to do extra warm up on the field, and then if I get a little knock there, mate, it's excruciating pain. Like just before Christmas, I sort of made a little line break, and somebody like clipped me by accident, and like their foot hit right on my fracture, and mate, it was the most painful thing I think I've gone through. It felt like my leg had broken. And then 10 seconds later, the pain was gone and I was up running again. Like it's a constant battle that I just have to deal with now, because I don't want to get this surgery. I just don't think there's any point in getting that surgery and potentially being out for 6 months of my career for an injury that might not even heal. So I'd be back to square one anyway. Then I'd have to do the rehab on obviously my calf muscle, my quad muscle, my hammies, to get all that back to normal so I could end up running again. And my thought process really when it come back was, if it's going to break, it's going to be an easier surgery than
hell, mate.
I was just like, I can't, just because of where I was in my career. If I was a bit younger, probably would have been more smart to get the surgery and just for the longevity of my career. But sort of, I wouldn't say I'm at the back end of my career, but I'm not really an established NRL player yet. Like I'm still sort of fighting for positions and probably in and out of an NRL team.
Yep.
So I didn't really want to get the surgery and then push that back until I was sort of a bit older, and then have to try break into a team being a bit older, sort of thing.
Yep.
But again, mate, I ended up playing another few NRL games last year, no dramas. Back training this year, no dramas. Been through contact sessions, been tackled loads. Yeah, it's there, but it's constantly a battle for me to get through.
Right. So you're playing with a pretty hectic injury, really.
Yeah. Because again, as I said, if it breaks, they're like what I was told, because obviously your shin is really close to your skin, like it's sort of there's only the skin stopping it. They said if it's a compound fracture there, it's a big chance you probably won't be able to come back. Yeah. Or like it's very hard to come back from. And I think mentally that would be the hardest thing. If I broke it, it is what like and it doesn't come through the skin, like it's just a broken leg up, I think it's a bit different than actually having the bone coming out of your skin. So that'd be saying obviously another whole different thing you'd have to get over, I guess. But yeah, that's the battle I live with every day for training. Like I've got to make sure that gets warmed up well. I've got to make sure, handle that. Have my anti-inflammatories when I can to try to get the pain to stay away. Ice it after every training session. Make sure I can, deal with the pain that way. I've got to do calf extras, like to build muscle around it to keep everything else around that really strong. Otherwise, it's again more of a chance. Take my calcium tablets just to make sure that bone is not deficient there. Like I do as much as I can to make sure that part of my body is strong enough to keep playing.
Do you do any of those tib raises and stuff like that?
Yeah. So when every morning I've got to do those, and at the start, mate, it's bloody painful. Like obviously you're on your heels and it's not easy, but I've got to do like 3 sets about 20, 25, mate. I get through a lot of sort of that anterior that work. I do heaps of it, mate, like a lot. My pre-field warm-up is about 45 minutes, and that's before I even go on the field to do the actual team warm-up.
Holy shit.
So because of that, of my shin, I've got the right side of my body overworks. So I've got Achilles tendinopathy or tendonitis or whatever it is, because my right side, I turn a lot more off it because it's a lot stronger. So I feel like when I'm running back to a line, I turn off and put my right foot down to push back off the line more. So my right side of my body works a lot more. So I get a lot more Achilles pain on that side. My hips on my right, like I don't squat very well because pushing up off that leg, it hurts. So I sort of use my right side more, and I did it real bad last year and I hurt my back. So all my lower back's a bit out of whack at the moment. Like it's just a constant battle. So I've got hips get tight, my lower back goes, my Achilles on my right side, and obviously just trying to build strength back up on the left side of my body.
Have you seen those cuffs that you can use for training?
Yeah, I've got to wear them.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's
they're actually really good. Like unreal. I just wear it on sort of the left side of my body, and that's because obviously you can't see me now, but standing just there, my right calf is, I don't really have big calves, but I've got no left calf, so where the fracture is, and size difference is ridiculous. Even in my quads as well. I didn't really notice it until they pointed it out. It's bad though. It's very bad. It's a weird injury because when we first found out last year, nobody really knew at the club, but at Brisbane, they'd never really dealt with anything like this. So it was we're learning how to do it on the go sort of thing and how to deal with it. So that was also the hardest thing for me, because usually when you find out you're injured, there's a clear-cut plan to get you back on the field, or like how your recovery is going to work. But for the first month, I wasn't doing anything. They were like, well, I don't know what to do because it's a bone. Like, what do you do for a bone? How do you warm a bone up? Like, how do you do that? And it was just hard. And all 3 surgeons said to me was just don't completely deload. So don't just stop running. And for the first month, we sort of stopped running because we didn't want it to break. So then when I went back to running, it was like the most painful thing I'd ever gone through, like running wise, because there was no load through it. It was just sort of half. It was sort of like when I stopped running, it's for a long time, it sort of starts to heal again and calcify over the top. Then I run again and it all breaks apart. So imagine, it's hard to explain how it feels, but when I'm running, it's sort of like there's a constant cork in my shin constantly. And I just got used to it now. It is what it is. Don't really think about it too much. It's just something that's a part of me that it doesn't really cross my mind too much anymore.
That's mad.
It's weird. It's weird. And the Newcastle, they knew about it last year before I'd signed. And as soon as I come down, they had a clear-cut plan for me pre-field. So it's saying that I love a routine too. Like, I don't like not knowing what I'm doing and not having something to do. So the routine for me in the morning works really well. Because I like being able to do this, obviously, and then go on the field. Where I really struggle in off season because I don't have that. And I've obviously got to keep running myself, but my warm-ups are nowhere near as good like they're like a couple of leg swings, a few lunges.
Yeah.
You're ready to go, get on the field.
Touch the ground and off you go.
Pretty much, eh? And then like I start running and I'm running, like I can just tell I'm running horribly. Like I've just got a massive limp and it takes me a little bit to get going. So it's just a constant battle. It's the best way to put it. It's just a constant battle.
You were talking about before, like not being an established NRL player and you're sort of in and out and fighting for your spot each week. Is that one of the reasons why you moved to Newcastle, or what took you down there?
Yeah, that was pretty much the main reason. And just obviously Brisbane, obviously towards the end of the year, they went with Renault and Ezra. And that's fair enough. They obviously made a business decision there to go with Ezra being younger and looking towards the future, which is fair enough. And it's no knock on them, but I feel like I'm good enough to be a regular NRL half.
Yep.
And in saying that, I didn't really want to leave Brisbane because I love that place. They were good to me and always have been good to me. The coaching staff there, the recruitment staff, like all the players, I loved it. But for my career, I thought it was a better move to go somewhere else, get back out of my comfort zone, and try to fight for another position. I fight for a position in another team.
Yep.
And I just knew there was obviously not too many teams interested because it was so late in the year, and I had to break contract with Brisbane, and most teams had their sort of team sorted for this year.
Yep.
But after talking to Knights, meeting with their recruitment officer and the coach, I just thought it was a good move for myself. Obviously, not just footy-wise, but lifestyle-wise.
Yep.
My partner and I had never lived near the beach, so that was a big goal for the move. Yeah, we're 15 minutes from the beach. Like the lifestyle down here is awesome. And then for me, if life outside of footy is going good and I'm happy off the field, on the field performances are 100 times better.
Yep.
And at the moment, I feel like I'm training really well throughout preseason. I feel like I'm putting myself in a good spot to be picked round one. But again, mate, it is a business, and the coach has got to pick his best 17 week in, week out. And if I'm not in there round one, then so be it, mate. I'll play New South Wales Cup and try to fight my way in throughout the rest of the year.
Yep. That's a good perspective to have. When you go pro, obviously, yeah, as you've said, it turns into a bit of a business. Do you feel that impacts the way, or has it for you at all taken any of the fun out of it? Because you sort of know each week you're fighting for that spot.
Sometimes, yeah. Like, I guess when you're in the team and then you get dropped, I think that's the hardest part. Like, whether it be based on performance or another player's come back from injury that obviously is more of a marquee player, and like they got injured, so you come back, you went in, and then when you get taken back out of a team, I think that's the hardest thing to cope with.
Yep.
Especially when you feel like you've been playing well, which for me hasn't happened all that often, but it has happened to me, and that's really hard for me to get over. I find that because I think to myself, well, you haven't done anything wrong, and then you've been taken out of the team. So it's sort of like, I just felt like, well, where do I go? What do I have to do to get back if I'm playing sort of good footy?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it gets taken away from you. That's something that gets sort of rips. It's sort of, because I put everything into footy, it's a little bit deflating, I guess.
For sure.
You feel as a player like it's that next week you sort of find it a little bit harder to get up and want to play, because if you've had to drop back down to either New South Wales Cup or Queensland Cup, that's not a bad comp. It's nothing to do against the other players or other teams, but just personally, you want to be playing NRL. Like that's your goal.
That's the goal,
that sort of gets taken away from you, or not taken away, but you get dropped, or for whatever reason, as I said, it is a little bit deflating. And that's the hardest thing I've had to deal with, like business-wise of footy. Is how do you bounce back from that? How do you get yourself back up to play the next week to try to prove to your coach that you shouldn't have been dropped or you should be back in the team? That's what I struggle with. But then I also try to put it into a bit of perspective where a lot of people would just be killing to be in my position just to be paid to play football. I get paid to live out my dream. And whether that's playing NRL, playing Queensland Cup or New South Wales Cup, I get paid to play football. So, I mean, I can't really complain about that. Like, I'm still living out my dream. Just put it in a little bit of perspective for myself, because, my sort of hardship in the business side of it would be someone else's dream.
Yeah, for sure. But it probably, that comes back down to you being competitive and wanting to be the best, right? Which is a good quality to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good quality, but sometimes it works really well for me. Sometimes, mate, it just tears me apart. It is. I do find myself sometimes, and that sort of stuff happens. Like I really do struggle, and it's not a bad struggle, but and I am competitive, so I don't want to play bad, and I don't.
Yep.
I always go out and try to put my best foot forward, even if I'm having a bad game. Like I'll always try. I'll never shy away from a game of footy or anything like that. But sometimes you sort of you don't. As bad as what it sounds, you don't feel like playing.
Yep.
And they're the days where you have to sort of convince yourself you want to play.
Yep.
Because it sounds so bad to say, and I know I won't be the only player or footy player or sportsman that will say this, but sometimes you just don't feel like playing. Like you just, for whatever reason, it's game day and you're not feeling too crash hot, or you're just not feeling it. They're the games where you've got to, or whatever, something's happened throughout the week with the team or with the coaches or whatever like that. But yeah, it's just sort of how you turn up and how you can, I guess, change your attitude and convince yourself and like turn up for your teammates, because you're not just playing for yourself. You're playing for a team, for a club.
Yep.
Well, a lot more than just yourself in a team sport. So yeah, it's just something that I've sort of found out throughout the last sort of 5 years, 6 years I've been full time.
It's important to share. Thanks for sharing that as well. It's cool to hear that because as you said, it's like people want to be in your position, but you're still human in that. It's like everything, regardless of what industry you're in, there's days where you don't feel like doing stuff. It's fucking normal.
Yeah.
But people go, you should be grateful for what you've got. And it's like, well, I am, but I'm tired or I'm aching or whatever it is. And that's normal. And I think the more players talk about it, and you get that even in the team, potentially, it's like the more you guys share that sort of stuff, it just builds a greater depth of connection. Because I still remember I played footy over in France, and it was awesome, but still the best fun and I guess the hungriest I was to play footy was when I was playing grade 12, like first 15, because it's like you've been mates with these guys for like 5, 10 plus years. You've gone through heaps of stuff together. So you're like proper mates, right? And at that time, you're going through school, you're chasing girls together, you're doing all that sort of stuff. So you're like proper mates. But then when it goes professional, it's like a lot of the people I was playing with was like transactional. You're there because you're all getting paid to play and whatnot.
Yeah.
But if I got to hear what you just shared from some other players around shit that's going on in their life, you'd be like, oh, cool. I can sort of relate to that a bit as well. And I don't feel like I'm the only one who doesn't feel like being here today.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, it doesn't happen all the time. It's just certain days for whatever reason. Things happen, or you might have had a bad night's sleep or whatever it is. But some days, like, you just don't feel like, some people don't want to go to work. Sometimes I don't feel like going to training, but you go anyway. You just go anyway because that's what you got to do. Sometimes, like, you might not want to go, I don't know, see your in-laws, but you got to do it to keep your business happy.
You fucking got to do it.
It is what it is. But again, just to put it in perspective, like what I'm living is somebody else's dream, and that's sort of how I always center myself and just sort of realize if I've had I don't really feel like training. It is like people would kill to be in my position, sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Could go to any sort of senior player that's not playing NRL or not training NRL and say, yeah, do this. And he'd just be cheering, like he'd take over my sort of spot and he'd be the best. He'd be having the time of his life.
Yep.
I think sometimes I do take it a little bit for granted, and I think a lot of players do. Just if you've been in the system for obviously a few years, it sort of becomes a bit of like it's your norm.
Yeah, it's your norm.
It becomes normal for you, but what we do is not normal. Like really, like we're very privileged to be in the position we're in.
Yep.
So it's you need something that can take you back to like bring everything back and bring your ego and come back into yourself and just realize like this isn't something that's going to be, you can't do this forever sort of thing. Like be happy with what you've got. So then do it while you can and make the most of it. Like don't let a bad day or a bad night's sleep define your next day, or let something define how you're feeling. Like you're there, you're living your dream. Like a lot of us are all living our dreams. It's not saying that it's our second option. Like this is something that is pretty hard to make and not many people do it. So you just got to realize that we are living our dream, and it is, what I don't think too many, very, very tiny percentage of players actually get to play in the NRL. So that's something that I've had to adapt, I guess, over the last since I started. Because man, when I first started, I thought I was the man. Come back home. I'd be living in Sydney and come back home thinking, oh yeah, I'm the man. Like I'm training full time, I'm killing it, and then just a bit of an ego boost, I think.
Yeah.
You know, the first couple of years, you think, yeah, I'm the man, I'm killing it, training NRL, and then you realise pretty quickly after you've sort of had a few bad games that you're not the man. You get humbled pretty quick. You get humbled very quickly.
Fucking oath. But it's good, mate. The only way you can go through that is experience, right? Like, everyone, one thing, obviously, you see people like young footy players or whatever, they're on the news for stuffing up, and it's like, well, you got to put your shoes on, for example. It's like one day you're just playing Q Cup or you're fresh out of school. The next day you're in the spotlight, earning good money, doing what you want to do. But then you have all this other stuff thrown at you and people expect you to have it all figured out at 18, 19, 20 or whatever. And it's like, dude, I have not lived hardly any days. I'm still figuring this shit out. I'm going to stuff up.
Yeah. I find a good one for the young boys, like when they're really young and have come into the comp, like obviously no one at high school likes like speaking in front of a classroom. Like you hated it. It was the worst thing in the world. But then you go into a full-time professional team, then you've got cameras there and you're live on TV and like you got to try answer questions that you're just like, oh, you're too scared to even be standing there. You're like just sweating. You got a journo there asking you questions and there's a big camera there and you're just like your head just gone
freaking out, man.
What's going on? And then you end up saying something dumb, or a lot of the players, like I've been guilty of, you say or yeah or something like that. It's I find that so funny because I do it myself. Like it's hard when you get interviewed all the time or like post game when you've just finished playing footy, they come up to you and they shove a big camera in your face and want your feedback on the game, and the full credit to the boys, like those cliches. Like they all come out. Every footy player does it. Like after every game, if they don't go to someone that like does media often, you'll get just those basic cliches. And full credit to the boys, like the forwards really laid the platform, all that sort of stuff. Like it's classic, but it's something that I don't think we train enough of. Like there's a lot of media throughout the year that players do. And if you're younger and don't really like talking, it's hard to do. Like you don't really know how to answer some questions. And journos being journos, like they keep they'll ask you a question one way and then try word it a different way to try get a different answer from you. So I mean that's their job. But if you're a young bloke and you don't really know how to answer it or not know really what to say, you can get burnt in the media, and that's happened to me. I don't know if you saw that last year or whatever. I did a podcast for one of my other mates, and I answered a question really poorly. And it was just the way I answered it was taken out of context. And it sort of made me look like I was saying my coach wasn't a very good coach. And that's not the way I meant it to come out. But because I just answered the question poorly and my words are taken out of context, it became a big media story. Like I was getting calls from journalists, like my name was plastered all through like the media saying I've just blasted my coach, saying he's not very good, which is not what I meant to say. I was trying to give another player sort of a bit of a rap because he just into the club, and I just worded it extremely poorly. But again, I've never really done media training or anything like that. So that was a learning curve for me because I'd always been pretty good with media. I thought talking is sort of pretty easy to me. But again, you've just got to, when you do media, you sort of got to realize that you've got to be switched on and smart the whole time. You can't just sort of answer the question really lazily like I did, because again, like there's always people watching, and they were very quick to throw me under the bus. I reckon I was the most hated bloke in Brisbane for 24 hours. Got me a few. I was getting like, I don't often like look at like when that was happening, I tried to stay off my phone, but if I'd get a text message or like I was talking to somebody, like I'd get message requests from people on Instagram just absolutely spraying me, like give me a gobful. Like never met them before in my life. People were like going back on old photos that I have on Instagram because my account's on public, and they just comment spraying you, and it was just like, mate, like, I didn't even mean to say, like it was taken out of context. I've apologized, and then it's still like, mate, some of the things people were saying were just like ridiculous. It goes well past footy, like it goes well past that, and it goes into your personal life and you as a person. And I made the error, but I don't feel like I deserve to be absolutely ripped apart like that. And that's just the way some, like, I don't know. it's hard to describe because I didn't mean it, so it's hard to comment on it. But like a lot of people take things literally, like I deliberately meant to say that. And I didn't, but obviously sometimes with media they say they just took my words out of context and just plastered that all everywhere. And I was sort of just like, no, I don't need this right now. I really don't need this.
I'm trying to focus on footy.
Yeah, and I think I was like 2 or 3 days before a game, and I was just rattled for like 24, 48 hours. Didn't know how to handle it because that was the first time I'd really been in the media for something bad.
Yep.
It was sort of another thing I'd never dealt with before, so I was just sort of learning how to deal with that on the fly. And then obviously having to apologize to your coach for something that was taken out of context. Yeah, I felt bad for him because that's not what I was implying to say. So I apologized to him like profusely, like 1,000 times in a minute phone call because I felt so bad.
Yeah.
But the media don't know that you've apologized and that's not what you meant. So they just run with the
mate, they're just trying to sell papers and they don't care about the ramifications.
Yeah, I know. And that was that's the bit that hurt me because I was getting like, I'm not that type of person. I don't bag people out. I'm not going to go out and deliberately bag someone. Like, it's just not who I am.
Yeah.
And that sort of hurt me because it's just sort of made me look like I was somebody that I'm not. Yeah. And that's sort of the hardest bit because then you don't really get to speak I didn't get a chance to go out there and say, that's not what I meant, which is the word. I couldn't defend myself. And that everybody in the world's got an opinion about you, but you don't actually get to go out and say, oh, that's what I meant to say. So it was, that was hard. But again, it is what it is. That's the world we live in now. Like it was hard. It is what it is.
But I think an important point to touch on that is like a lot of people, mental health ambassadors on Are You OK Day and whatnot, but a lot of those people are the ones throwing their opinion at you. And it's like, if everyone throws their opinion at you, you're carrying, for example, 20,000 opinions on you. That's fucking heavy. Yeah. But then the next day they're like, oh, Are You OK Day, mate? And all this. And that's what irritates me is like, if you want to be on the supporting people's well-being and whatnot bandwagon, don't be a fucking prick all the time. Like, be considerate, seek to understand, maybe ask questions or listen to the full podcast and you'll see the context of where it came from. But those cheeky sound bites on fucking TikTok and whatnot can
they make you out to look like a horrible person.
As
I said, that was the bit that got me. And then that was sort of hard to come back from actually because it had come out that I had asked for a release from the club like prior to that. And then it come out that I did this podcast a month before. And it come out like I'd asked for a release from the club. I'd just signed with the Knights, and then this come out. So I was just like, oh, he's leaving, so he's bagged the coach. And that's not the way it all went down. And then, it was just really hard for me to get a grip on. I still sort of flushed it. And on my last game for Brisbane, I don't think I played too bad. I felt like I still played pretty good. We didn't win, which was all pretty disappointing. But, like, I got my last game and I played all right. But it was something like that happened to me probably 2 years prior. I would have been in shambles. I would have been like, my head wouldn't have been in the game. I would have just been like out of it. But again, like, as you said, with experience, you learn to get over certain sort of things. So I wasn't too bad, but that sort of 24 to 48 hours, I was, no good, mate. Even my missus sort of said like, well, you okay? Like, I was rattled. Like, I didn't know how to handle it. All these people bagging you, and it's a lot. Yeah, it was just hard to take, very hard to cop, but I'm over it. I'm over it now. It's just those certain few things.
It just shows how important for I guess athletes and everyone in their profession, not only working on, for example, your career's coming down to physicality and skill, but working on your mental fitness and your mindset's a really important part, and not just on the field. It's like dealing with the stuff outside of it as well, because unfortunately, as you mentioned, it is the world that we live in now. And so we can try and shelter ourselves, but fuck, there's always stuff that's coming up or popping up that we got to deal with. Yeah,
always, mate, always. And everybody's on social media. Like, you can't tell me a person that's sort of under 30 that's not on social media. Like, everybody has it. Whether it's an hour a day or 10 hours a day, like, you're looking at your phone, you're looking at Facebook, you're scrolling past something, you're scrolling past something on Instagram. Like, it's always going to be there. It's just sort of how you can handle it differs from person to person, I guess.
100%. I want to respect your time, mate. I've really appreciated the chat. It's cool to get an inside scoop of what it's been like for you, and even the injuries that you're dealing with and how you've sort of responded to the stuff that's happened to you. And mate, I'm wishing you all the best for the season ahead. How do you feel you guys are placed, the Knights are placed this season?
I think we've recruited really well. Like, obviously, I'm a new player, but as I said, I'm sort of in and out. But the players that they've recruited to play in the NRL, I think we've recruited really well. Coming off a pretty disappointing season that the Knights had last year, I think we're in a good spot to turn it around. I just want to hope. I hope we make top 8 finals footy. Like, you always want to strive to win a premiership at the start of the year, but obviously it takes a lot to win a premiership. And from where we're coming from, I think we're a good chance to play finals footy. I think we're a really good chance to play top 8 if we can gel pretty quickly throughout the year and have sort of no big injuries. I think we're a really big chance of playing finals footy. And I think we're definitely going to surprise a few teams early on.
Yeah, nice. I like it, mate. Well, appreciate your time, Tyce. It's been awesome, and good luck for the season ahead.
You're a legend, mate. Thanks for having me on. I love the chat.
Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.